With the cover of darkness on October 19, 1944, a squadron of 6 American-made transport planes departed from Lachars, Scotland, flying in a northeasterly direction on a secret mission. They were very much aware of the threat of being detected by German fighter planes that were stationed in Norway. One of the planes returned to Scotland due to engine problems. The remaining 5 planes continued their planned mission. Cruising at 18,000 feet, their destination was the Stockholm Bromar Airport. Unknown to the squadron that night, the east coast of Sweden was experiencing extreme fog conditions on the ground. It was so bad that ground control directed the pilots to not land, but to fly southwest to the Gothenburg area, where the current weather conditions were less extreme. Four of the 5 planes reached Gothenburg-Torslanda Airport. The weather was not that much better on the west coast as it was on the east coast. The pilot of the last plane to land was asked by the control tower if he wanted to go to a different nearby airport. The pilot said no, he was out of fuel. With that said, the control tower heard a thump on the runway, but could not see a plane. A car was sent out in the fog to escort the plane off the runway. Now the Torslanda control tower turned its attention to the 5th plane. The Bromar control tower had kept in communications with all 5 planes during their flight to Torslanda, but one of the planes stopped responding. Attempt after attempt to reconnect with the 5th plane was unsuccessful. About 2 a.m., the Bromar control tower announced that a report had been received of a plane crash and explosion at Anton. It must have been the 5th plane. "20 minutes after midnight on Friday, October the 20th, 1944, an explosion and fire awakened residents in the rural wooded area northwest of Anton. Nearby residents and members of the Swedish National Home Guard rushed to the scene of the fire. They discovered an American cargo plane had crashed. The bodies of 6 airmen were found, dressed in civilian clothing, had perished. Anton is about 40 minutes by car from Gothenburg. One of the plane's occupants was still alive when the rescue teams arrived, but he did not regain consciousness. He was not able to tell anyone what had caused the crash nor what the plane was transporting. An official crash report did not reveal any reason why the plane was flying so low. Some have supposed that the crash may have been due to an inexperienced onboard navigator. Others thought that the pilot and co-pilot noticed the lights through the fog of Lingus and thought they were the lights of Gothenburg, and they started their decline for landing. But the actual cause of the crash, now 81 years later, still remains a mystery today. Here is the first of 4 actual photos that were taken at the crash site in 1944. In the center of this photo, it appears to be a cockpit seat. One of the airplane propellers. Many of the local residents visited the crash scene, which was a quarter of a mile through dense forest. Next is a short video taken when we visited the crash site in August 2023. Okay, we have arrived at the mysterious highlight. It may be a highlight for the entire trip, but for sure for the day. You can see what the area looks like. And notice the sign in this little parking lot. You could easily look this name up on Wikipedia and find some great information. It's a monument to a crash site of an American plane in 1944 here in Sweden, which it shouldn't have been here. But let's see what it looks like. This billboard was funded and built by local residents. As you can see, there are many photos and text of the crash incident. Some of the photos are of past anniversaries of the October 1944 crash. Notice the mailbox in the bottom right-hand corner. It contains a notebook of the visitors' names, where they are from, and the date of their visit. This is the back side of the monument. This is the front side of the monument. The bodies of 6 United States airmen were found at the crash site. Initially, their bodies were transported to the United States Malmo's Eastern Cemetery. There are 2 mysteries. What caused the crash of plane number 5, which is still unknown today? Why were American airmen flying missions in Sweden? The answer is Operation Sony. In early 1944, this top secret operation was started with the aim of flying out Norwegian resistance fighters and Allied pilots who had ended up in Sweden for various reasons. Over 15 months, from April 1st, 1944 to June 25, 1945, no fewer than 4,304 people were flown out of Sweden. The flights were always carried out at night and often in bad weather so as not to be detected by German fighter aircraft. On the trips to Sweden, the planes contained spare parts and equipment to repair the various aircraft that had ended up in Sweden, so that they could be flown back to the United Kingdom. It often happened that flights had to be canceled because the weather was too good. The American aircraft carried civilian markings, but were flown by military personnel. Since Sweden was neutral and a civilian transport company had been created, the American Air Transport Service, AATS. So now you know. And that's all, folks.